breaking news here. So something absolutely massive is happening right now. So as we know, Kamala Harris has been surging in the polls. Basically in the news, it's all been nonstop, just positive coverage for Kamala Harris polls wise. But there has been some kind of tepid stuff in the media on that as well, saying like, hey, Kamala Harris barely leads and she's up by 5, for example, and they say, hey, it's within the margin of error, etc. So she's been surging in the polls, right? We've noticed that. But what seems to be happening is there's a flooding of low-quality right-wing polls that are coming out. Pollsters that actually made the 2022 numbers look really, really bad and look really, really skewed, where you had, for example, in the Arizona Senate race, Mark Kelly is only, up 1.5. He ends up winning by like 5 points, 5.5 points. Whitmer, similar situation as well. I think she was up 5, she won by 10, etc. And it was because there was this flooding of just these trash pollsters, these trash right-wing pollsters. And so this guy sends out a tweet, he says, PSA, many of the same problematic low-quality right-wing pollsters on the tail end of 2022 are back pushing PA numbers this week. Wick, Trafalgar, Redfield, Rasmussen, Insider, etc. The quality polls are coming, but we've been through this song and dance before. So it's super important not only that we look at polls and aggregates and everything, but we really need to make sure that we're looking at the right polls and being able to sift through all the data and what's going on. So there's actually this article here we can see. So it's an article from 2022. This article actually is trying to say that the results is from FiveThirtyEight themselves. They say the polls are historically accurate in 2022, but they explain basically that a much higher proportion of the polls that were taken in the House races were generic congressional ballot polls, which have a much higher propensity towards being correct historically. So a lot of it wasn't that they were actually more accurate. It was just that a higher proportion of the total House polls, instead of being district polls, were generic congressional ballot polls. So that accounts for a significant amount of it. So a lot of it ended up being wrong, especially in a lot of the Senate races. But this is the most and least accurate pollsters of 2021, 2022. Average error share of elections, quote, called correctly, and average statistical bias of each pollster's polls in the final 21 days. So here you have this list you can see here of all these people that we have. And so we can see Fabrizio is a Trump-rated pollster, so they have a 3.2 error, so they're already kind of far down the pack here. And then you can see towards the end, as we start going further and further down, what we see is we see Rasmussen here, and then what we end up seeing is Trafalgar at the really close to the bottom, Insider Advantage also close to the bottom, and then this is another name that you just saw, right? Wick, right? John Wick. I don't know if this is John Wick. I'm not sure. John Wick has his own polling platform. Not sure, but let's check out some of these new polls, man. So Wick having a 5.7 error, Insider Advantage 5.3, Trafalgar 5.3. Really, really horrible numbers. Rasmussen 4.4. Even up here, Fabrizio 3.2, right? But let's check out who's dropping polls right now. So what we can see here is, it says Insider Advantage, right? So this is a pollster. They're dropping a bunch of polls here, showing that it's even. We have another Insider Advantage poll. They're dropping like a bunch of polls here. Insider Advantage. I don't know who. I tried looking into Activote because they have some kind of weird numbers. But some of the polls seem to make sense. Like this one, they have Harris and Trump tied at 50, which seems to make sense kind of numbers-wise. So I'm not sure if they're like right-leaning or not. Or I looked it up. It looks like they're supposed to be nonpartisan, but they don't have a rating yet. So they're a pollster that has not been rated. So we have some new pollsters that are not rated right now. And some of these are kind of sus, and we're going to get into one of the sus ones. But Activote. Then you have this guy called Quantus Polls and News. So they put out a Texas poll where it's +8. I tried looking into who this is. Here's actually the page for the Quantus Polls and News here. So we can see this here, right? Quantus Polls and News. And when you look at this guy's Twitter account, he's basically running defense for Trump. Like this tweet says, the fact you had this much of a drop is way too much for Harris to win. There was 266K mail-in ballots 2016 and Trump still won by 5%. So it kind of seems to be going a little bit beyond conducting polling data, and it seems kind of more like trying to do like analysis that's sort of confirmation bias or defense for Trump. But it gets even worse, and so this is more of that. And then you can see that there's more of this stuff of Elon Musk, like retweeting Elon Musk, and it's like, all right, dude. And you can see this is why Harris won't discuss her policies of disaster, and it's a shame she's not pressed on them. So again, you're talking about somebody being included who's literally retweeting Elon Musk and saying shit like this. This guy's in the polls here. And so a lot of these garbage pollsters happened in 2022 as well. And so people like Quantus Polls and these other pollsters are literally just flooding the numbers. They're just flooding them right now. SoCal Data is another one as well. And so they're retweeting them as well. So SoCal is another right-wing pollster as well. And he's retweeting Rasmussen as well. The Elon Musk acquisition of Twitter turned out to be one of the most significant events of the decade. It's unleashed discovery of the countless truths that government officials try to hide a great gift to our society. And going after Robert Reich or whatever. So these are the trash tier pollsters that are coming out. And so, be aware of these people, people like Quantus polls, and then you can see Trafalgar is getting spammed as well. And so we're having this also where Trafalgar is also getting spammed. They're dropping a bunch of polls as well. Trafalgar, as you can see, in the 2022 numbers, really, really close to the bottom here, definitely towards the bottom. You can see them right here, how low Trafalgar is. You can see them right there as well, right? So you can see, they're also pumping the polls now as well. And then, further, again, now we have Wick, right? John Wick is back, right? John Wick is here. So he's taking part in the presidential election. So John Wick, in this poll in Pennsylvania, even +1, Wick is even lower than Insider Advantage and Trafalgar. 5.7 error, guys, 5.7. R plus 4.6, right? So there's clearly a flooding going on right now of the poll numbers right now where these trash tier pollsters, I don't know if there's some conspiracy going on. I'm not asserting that. What I'm saying is just empirically there's a flooding going on, but I'm not saying that there's necessarily a conspiratorial flooding where it's like, because the media ends up determining a lot of what's happening. So if the media reports on something some way, a lot of people are going to believe that. And so if the media is saying Kamala's winning the polls and everything, the Republicans conspiratorially would want to change that media narrative. And so what do? You just fake the poll numbers, just like they did in 2022. You can see a bunch of these poll people are literally flooding it right now. And then you look at Quantus polls, and it's like, you seriously going to take that person seriously? Retweeting Elon Musk, and it's not really like conducting polls. It's like, this outlet is this massively biased, person who's doing this, right? And I don't know about Activote and all this stuff. And you have RMG research. You can see RMG, that's straight up Republican, right? Fabrizio, also another one. I think this one is actually like Trump. I think this one is also, I believe, Trump employed the Clarity Campaign Labs. I'm not sure. I think I had seen someone name drop them as well. They're not here in this one here, but I think they were also mentioned as being bad pollsters, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure. But that may not have been them. But, and then Redfield is also questionable. I'm not sure what's going on with Redfield. And they're a D-rated pollster, so they're just a really bad-rated pollster. I don't know if they're I don't think they're biased. Activote, again, is unrated, so we don't know. SoCal is a right-wing pollster. Quantus polls, again, right? And again, they have Harris +2 and everyone else, having it much higher. So, we can kind of see that kind of thing as well. So there's a flooding going on of these really trash tier pollsters. And so, is there something conspiratorial going on? I'm not necessarily saying that, but we can see, her numbers have gone down, right? From the 23rd, she was at 3.7 natties. It's now gone down by 0.5 after, there's an RMG polls for Fabrizio, and there's these poll drops. Quantus is here too, right? And so you have these poll drops coming in. So, and then, even in the States, right, she's having drops as well, dropping in the numbers as well. So, whether or not there's some kind of conspiracy behind this, honestly, is a little bit irrelevant because the truth clearly seems to be there's a flooding of trash tier pollsters going on. So I don't know if anybody can put together a website that kind of takes out all the trash tier pollsters from the bottom half or the bottom quarter of like the 2022 pollsters that we looked at, but they were horribly, horribly wrong. And so we have to like kind of, sort through the garbage and sort through the noise and everything like that, kind of like the error term and like a regression function, right? So, yeah, super interesting stuff going on here. So just wanted to let you guys know, beware of the trash tier pollsters coming back.